We're going to start the class with a little bit of potpourri, a little bit of vox pops, a little bit of hearing what you have to say. Guys, again, don't be shy. Everyone here is from different levels. People know a lot more and people know a lot less, so it's really cool. No one should be embarrassed. But when I say Queen Esther, and obviously I won't be using... I'll use a nice big one. Queen Esther, what can you guys tell me a little bit about Queen Esther that might be of interest to us tonight here live at the JLE? Let's go. Oui. Qui en peut faire les choses? Oui, Emily.
She had a lot of self-control. She had to fast for 3 days.
Self-control. Okay, fasting. That's interesting.
Courageous.
1 sec. Un moment. Okay, courageous. Excellent. Why was she so courageous? Oh, so embarrassing. That's embarrassing. I think it's going to be E. Hey.
You spell you first.
Oh, dear. Is that terrible?
That is terrible.
What is it? C-O-U? C-O-U?
Yes.
Gosh. Please do not tell my teachers that I'm Polish. I speak Hebrew.
Just say brave.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Close.
Shh. Why was she so courageous, Benjamin?
Because she married a king and she didn't know him.
Yeah.
And
So married someone she didn't know. I mean, let's face it, we've all been there. That was a joke. That was a joke. Big joke. She didn't know. Okay. Is the window open to the noise window? Okay. And what else? Yes, Laura. Hidden. Okay, interesting. Hidden. Why did you say hidden? I mean, that's interesting.
The meaning of it.
Okay. So let's get back to that very soon. Obviously, that's good. That was good. But we're going to go back. Hidden, because interesting enough, you'd think that hidden would be. I mean, she's the queen. She's a public figure, and in many ways, she almost like she's the cause of so much of the story being told. You know, Ahasuerus and the downfall of Haman, and so it's almost like the opposite of hidden. But it's a really nice, interesting point we're bringing out. Someone else want to throw anything? Doesn't matter. Something you once read or heard about Esther. It's really open season here. Omri, yeah.
she has a soul.
I don't know. She had a soul.
I was joking.
Don't you like that? She had a soul. Okay.
No wrong answers.
I love it. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to throw something out there? Ellie, oui.
Self-abnegation.
Self-abnegation. Well, why did you have to do this to me on the one day I'm recording it? Here we go. Self-abnegation. In what way was she doing what we call in Hebrew bitul? Where do you see the self-abnegation? Those of us who don't know what that word is, do you want to explain what that word means?
Basically, she kind of ignored herself. So she put herself in parentheses for the good of others.
Amazing. Putting others first. Putting others first. Now we see that, of course. We see that very much in that she doesn't want to marry Ahasuerus. She doesn't want to be part of the whole beauty pageant, so to speak. She kind of gets forced into that, then Ahasuerus chooses her. She's not really interested in doing that. Then she puts her life on the line. Again, for those who may or may not be so familiar with the story of the Megillah, she puts her life on the line. She has to go and speak to Ahasuerus the king. Okay? She is going to go and speak to him and invite him to a feast. And in that feast, we don't actually know what's going to happen. It's all kind of weird and strange because ultimately when he comes to the feast, she says to him, I have one request of you. And everyone holds with bated breath. And what's the request? And the request is, he comes to another feast the next day. It's quite strange. But she does put her life on the line because if she would have, in those days with the way the Persian court worked, if she'd have gone and the king did not want to see her, she could have been put to death. So she puts her life on the line by going to see the king without being invited. Something which we can't really appreciate entirely in our day and age, but she really did put her life on the line. Self-abnegation, beautiful. And anyone else just one other thing that they know about Esther? Something? No? Lucy, yeah, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I can't remember. But she looked favourable on people no matter what they've done. Is that right?
Why did you say that? That's not
Because
lovely.
it's my grandmother's.
Oh, that's really beautiful. You know, Adam and Luke's grandma was called Esther. And it's an amazing story about how when you went to see her, was that story? It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, when I was on the J-Life trip just before she passed away.
It's a really, really beautiful story. You went to see his grandma and then you had such a different understanding of what Esther means, which we're going to come to. Laura obviously let the cat out of the back. Meow. We'll come back to in a second. That's good. We're going to come to a second to what Esther means. Esther is a, when you're a kid and you go to primary school and there's a Purim pageant, so everyone wants to be the Queen Esther. So you get the idea of the royal aspect of like people being Queen and the Queen Esther. But there's something so much deeper about her, and that really actually comes from what Laura just said before. Is that what does the word Esther actually mean? So the word Esther, I'm going to write it out. Should I use the same piece of paper? Because obviously it's planet and that. I'll just use the same here. So Esther, if I write that, can you see? Esther is spelled Aleph, Samach, Taf, Resh, Esther, okay? Now, the root from the word Esther is the Samach, the Taf, and the Resh, which means to hide, hidden. That's what lahastir in Hebrew. Lahastir is to hide something away. Okay, the seter is in a hidden place. So interesting, in her whole name, we have the idea of hiddenness, something being hidden. So the role of tonight, what we're going to try and find out in the next half an hour or so, is what was she hiding, who is she hiding, why did she have to hide, and more importantly, Linda wants to know, and I can understand as well. She's looking at me with that face saying, well, what does it mean to my life? Why is it relevant to me in the year 2019? Yes, it's Purim. Yes, there's a party at Saatchi. We don't mention that here at JLE. Yes, there's going to be lots of people getting drunk. But at the end of the day, how is this relevant to my life in 2019? Queen Esther, what are you going to teach us today about how to live a more spiritual life, a more soul-centered life, a life which is really aligned body and soul together. If those who come for the first time, we welcome Sarah and we welcome obviously the Castiel sisters. And Benjamin, du bist alles willkommen nach deinem Class. Those who've not before know the whole point of the soul fitness class is we've got a body, we've got a soul together, living together, and we're trying to give that ascendancy of soul, but also trying to live our lives in 2019, whether you're on the Northern Line, whether you're on the Metropolitan Line, whether you're even in the Great Western North on the way to Edinburgh one day, maybe. Or even on a Boeing 747 on the way to Mauritius. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can lead spiritually. It would be like, Emily, it's a year ago since Morocco.
I know.
God-centered life. A God-centered life is what we're talking about.
Yes.
That's what's about. So I'm going to pass around these little sheets of paper, obviously. Now the rule is you're not allowed to read on, because otherwise I get really angry. But not really. That's good. And we're going to learn a beautiful lesson. Again, for some of you people today, it might be a little bit chazara. Chazara is a bit revision, some ideas. But I strongly believe that there's never enough revision that can be done. So let's go through it together. If we see in source A, there is a Talmud, there's a beautiful Talmud that says that we can see allusions to various people in the Megillah. We can find an allusion to their name somewhere in the Torah. Right? So the name Mordechai, even though Mordechai is, coming from many, many years after the Torah was given, there's a name in the Torah. We'll come back. The next week is Mordechai who's going to be with us, so we'll say it for then. But there's a pasuk, there's a verse in the Torah that has a link to the name Mordechai. So the Gemara, the Talmud asks, where do we know the name Esther? So source A, I'd like to ask Omri to read in English, just from where in the Torah?
From where in the Torah can one find an allusion to the events involving Esther? He replied to them that the verse states, and I will hide, Haster Astir, my face on that day for all the evil which they shall have wrought, in that they are turned to other gods.
And there's a very interesting part of the Torah. It talks very, very intensely about what happens to the Jewish people when they just go after other gods, when they just basically go away from Hashem. Hashem says, what I will do is I will hide my face away on that day. It's an interesting topic. Not for now, but the idea of Hashem hiding away, hiding his face. The word Esther, obviously, Esther and the Hastir is intrinsically linked. Esther somehow implies hiddenness. In what way does Esther hide? Give me some examples of what Esther hides. Can you give me some? There's some pretty obvious ones, maybe less obvious ones. Uncle Adam.
She didn't. The king didn't know she was Jewish, right?
Right.
So she
I hope you haven't read on, because then that'd be a foul play. You have to leave the class. You didn't know, that's amazing. You remembered it from a couple of years ago. So go on, say it nice and loud and proud.
So she didn't reveal she was Jewish when she married the king.
Yeah, she didn't reveal, so she held on to a secret. Beautiful. Anything else she hid? No, anyone else? No? Okay, so well, she wasn't Jewish. Also, she hid onto the idea that she what do you call it? That she had the opportunity to tell the king. She didn't run in and just blurt out to King Ahasuerus, like running in, "Hey, what are you doing? I'm Jewish. Like, what are you doing? You're gonna kill my whole nation. What you doing?" She held out and she waited for the right time and the right place to be able to do it. We see, as Adam said just so nicely, that one of the main strengths of Esther is that she would not reveal where she was from. She kept this secret very strong. So just some examples in source B. So I'm just throwing you some examples from the Megillah itself. Benjamin, as is your first time in our class, it's a tradition that we ask someone for their first time to say some words. So can you just read source B for me in English?
Of course. Esther did not reveal her people or her kindred, or Mordechai had told her not to reveal.
Right, so Mordechai says, don't say anything, right? She gets taken against the will to the king's palace, this whole beauty pageant, this whole thing's happening. It's all against the will. And one thing that Uncle Mordechai has said is, do not, whatever you do, say that you're Jewish. You have to keep it completely silent. Right? And she's this young lady, she's very, very impressionable, very young, very, she's managed to keep hold of that secret, doesn't say a word. I mean, again, source C is another example of this. Linda, just in English, source C.
Sorry, before that, can you remind me who's Mordechai?
Oh, sorry, apologize. Yeah, okay, fine. Just in terms of family tree stuff. So Mordechai is Esther's uncle. The Megillah says that her parents were no longer alive. The Talmud states that her father died before she was born, and her mother died the day she was born. So instead, she was brought into the world without parents, which again is interestingly symbolic about what that means. Why Esther, this heroine of the Jewish people, doesn't have parents, but her uncle Mordechai essentially adopts her and looks after. He's the uncle. Next week we'll hear more about his role and what happened. It's very interesting in terms of his strength and standing up to Haman, who is the instigator. Yeah, and
so that was a secret as well, that Mordechai was her uncle.
Yeah, so Mordechai's coming backwards and forwards, definitely. Let's read. Okay, so go for it. Linda, yes, see.
But Esther still did not reveal her kindred or her people, as Mordechai had instructed her. For Esther obeyed Mordechai's bidding, as she had done when she was under his tutelage.
Right, so she listens to uncle, she doesn't. Now, my big question when I was going through this and praying in the class is like, okay, so what? So she didn't say, it's not a big deal. I mean, in fact, if you think about it, we all hear many stories of people in the Holocaust, stories of Jews who hid their identity, who were forced many times, kind of in very dangerous situations, to maybe reveal their identity. So, and they didn't say they were Jewish. I'm sure everyone's got stories they know about, or some people might have stories in their own families of people they know that managed to retain sort of being incognito. My wife's grandmother had many stories where, she had to pretend to be, she was blonde and blue-eyed and she managed to get away with it, but there were many times when she was sniffed out by the Nazi SS and they looked at her and like, are you Jewish? And she was saying no. So Esther didn't say she was Jewish, so what? It's not such a big deal. It's very interesting. You look at source E, jump to source E, so you see that actually Ahasuerus, the Gemara, the Talmud tells us, that Ahasuerus was going crazy. He was going absolutely insane about this. Like, something tells in the Talmud about Esther was that she was very beautiful, but one thing it also says about her was that she had that kind of look. I don't know how you describe it, sort of modern parlance. She had this look that she kind of could be anyone to anything. Like the Italians thought she was Italian, and the Portuguese thought she was Portuguese. The British thought she was Gibraltar and the Spanish thought she was Spanish. Hashtag controversial. Okay, the Mexicans thought she was Mexican and the Canadians thought she was Canadian. Whatever, every nation called her oh, she's definitely Turkish, or she's does everyone have that? I get that quite a lot. People often say I look Turkish, I look Italian, It's like Jackie Mason has a joke about that.
Were you travelling in Egypt as well?
Yeah, when I travel in Egypt, I pretend to be Egyptian.
You don't look Egyptian.
I was very dark. I was very, very dark.
That's it.
It was very funny. So my eyes gave it away. So they said, "You are not." I said, "No, but my grandfather was RAF pilot." And so they had to and when they started peppering me with Arabic, I had to the Nazi part. Which was one point quite dangerous because we were in a bus that broke down in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and I was actually fearful at that point that maybe I'd never see home again. Have you ever been broken down on a bus in the middle of the Sahara Desert?
No.
3 bottles of water each, me and my mate. And the whole bus suddenly noticed there were these 2 foreigners on the bus. Although we were dressed as Arab peasants, but that's a different story, not for here. One day I'll tell you all those amazing stories about Egypt '98. I live first on already. Okay, where were we? I forgot what we said. Oh, yeah, everyone. So I get that. Jackie Mason has a great joke about that. Jackie Mason. He said, like, do you know guys like who Jackie Mason is? He's the American comic comedian. It's like you get these, the Jewish people. Like this girl. She goes, "Do I look Italian? Do I look Italian? No, you look Jewish. You're Jewish, and that's it." I look so Spanish. I look so Swedish. No, you're Jewish. The point is that. Esther, everyone thought like she was one of us. She's one of us. She's one of us. So it was driving Ahasuerus crazy. He just really wanted to know, like, what's the story? And so look at source E. And in fact, Daniel Castiel, obviously, first time saw fitness. Your chance to read source E. Go for it.
The verse states, "And the king made a great feast for all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast." The Gemara explains that this was part of an attempt to have Esther reveal her true identity. He made a great feast in her honor, but she did not reveal her identity to him. He lowered the taxes in her name, but she still did not reveal it to him. He sent gifts to the ministers in her name, but even so, she did not reveal it to him.
Okay, so we see that he was non-stop. He would send gifts to people. He would do things, favors. He'd all different types of parties and reception halls and everything he could do just to kind of just get the information out of her. Like, Esther, what's the story? Where are you from? Who are you? Like, she's driving mad, and she just, even with all the pressure, and she never broke. She did exactly what her uncle told her, and never ever to say what her identity was, where she came from. And this is the point I want to pick up on, and I want to just develop this a bit with you, and I think it's so powerful. Is this koach? Koach is the Hebrew word. Everyone know what koach means? The word koach? Power. It's this innate power that Esther had to hold on to a secret, to hold on to information, to hold on to something precious without sharing it, even though she would have made life a lot easier, or that she could have got a lot more from Ahasuerus, or whatever it was. So she kept hold of this secret no matter what was the outside pressures. And I think this is just to transpose this a little bit, maybe now we start making it more relevant in our lives. I think that, we live in a society, and I think you guys will all agree with me, where basically, I lived in Israel for 9 years, right? I moved away when I was 25 to Israel. I lived there for 9 years. So one of the things that was amazing about Israel was that, when you're walking in the streets, first of all, there are tabloids, which I don't think there really are. You don't really understand what they're saying, because it's all, you don't pay much attention to it. But I remember when I moved back to England, I was going out to Birmingham a lot on the train, and I was one point in one of the stations, Watford Junction, if I'm not mistaken, and I was buying a Ribena, I think. Information. There you go. And I'll never forget, as I was buying a Ribena, I noticed they had all the magazines, like Heat magazine and this magazine, had all the gossip things, right? And I just it hit me because I hadn't seen it for years and years and years. It's wow, people just want to just gossip and talk about other people's information about, this one's got the hot info about that one, and this one's going to reveals all. Yes, this one reveals all about what happened in that private event or that private affair, and we kind of get this real joy. I mean, let's say I don't think anyone in this room, I presume no one in this room ever would buy something like a Heat magazine. There's no way in the world any of you in this room would ever do such a thing, right? But I don't know, I'm guessing. But the point is that these things, again, sometimes it can be a bit of fun and no one takes it seriously, but there is an element to it that the publishers understand and know that there's this hunger in the world for just get all the info and get all the secrets and get all the juicy gossip and get what's going on, and people living vicariously through other people's ups and downs and troubles and sorrows, and this whole idea of borders and boundaries of private and public just gets completely waylaid. I lived in a time with Princess Diana. It was just crazy just before her death. I remember that everyone was just invading her privacy. They had these photographers up in trees with lenses, and it's because people have an appetite. They just want to know all the info, and there's no idea of what's secret or what's private and what can remain and what should remain private. And I think that it's so important also for us. Sometimes we kind of get caught up in that ourselves. Sometimes we'll know information, we'll know a story, or we'll know some secret, hot, juicy gossip about something, and it's so tantalizing often to want to share that. It's a horror. It's a weird inclination that we have. Why do you have such an inclination? Has anyone ever been in a situation where you've had some really incredible info on something or someone, and it's this burning thing, you just want to tell people, and why? Why do you need to bed? I've got to tell someone. I live to this day, I live with, still inside me. I was once in a situation, I think I've said this to you before, I'm sure. I was once in a room where somebody made a comment that was so funny, it was so hilarious. I couldn't help it. I was just sitting there. Someone made a comment about someone else. It was just so quick-witted. That was what the funny part. It was so quick. It was so on the ball. The wit was so fast, right? And I know that if I told a few people what that person said, they would cry with laughter. It was like one of the funniest they've ever heard, right? But I'll never share that. Right, so I hold that within, but the temptation is there. Like I'm sitting there, there's always that temptation when like seeing those people like, oh my gosh, you never guess that one time I was with that person. They said that. I know they will cry with laughter, but like I would never do that because I hope I never. Hashem should help me, please. I should never do that, right? You're never entirely sure. I hope I won't. But there's idea. Why is it so powerful? We want to blurt out the info. Why? What's it coming from? I don't know. Where do you think, Omri? It's this idea that like some sort of pleasure that we get. There's some sort of psychological pleasure.
Like a shock as well.
In what way?
Well, I'll give you an example from this afternoon.
Go on.
So my
obviously live. This is very relevant, as you can see.
It happened today. My colleague has got a friend, and this friend has a friend.
Okay.
And she lives in the UK, but she is quote unquote married to a prisoner in America. And she's in love with this man, and she's actually on her way there now. So we're all looking at it on social media in the office today because it's the weirdest thing. Like, and this woman is like making a spectacle of herself, and the guy's a murderer, right? He's got 2 teardrops under his eye, and this woman is posting on social media, I can't wait to get on the plane and meet my husband. Obviously, they're not actually married, but she's like. It's so bizarre. I think it's a shock factor. We were so shocked today when we saw it. It's so weird. I mean, like, it doesn't happen so often that you find that out.
That's
Maybe
true.
it's a shock.
So it could be shock factor. It could be like
sometimes you think that if you share something that maybe that person will like you more or respect you more because you told them and maybe nobody else. So I think a lot of it's maybe around.
Beautiful. In fact, actually, it's very nice you say that because the word we use for in Torah for what's called peddling information is called rechilut. Rechilut actually means peddling, and the idea is that you peddle, like you're going around like a peddler, like hey, knock on the door, look what I've got, because it's like almost like I've got info and I can win you over with the info I can give you, I can draw you closer with the info that I can give you, stories, information, whatever it is, and. It's so hard, like, we all carry around certain things. Obviously, things that are dangerous and things that obviously need to be said to authorities and police, for sure. There's no question about that, people have to go forward. No one should walk out there thinking, well, people got secrets that, about criminal offences. No, you have to. The idea is that we are assailed constantly with the idea of just never, don't hold it in, just spread it out. Say what you want to say how you want to say it. And Esther is coming along and teaching us an incredible lesson of like some things don't need to be said. Better to hold your tongue, better to wait. But it's always better to the example they always give that we're now entering the realm that's about Lashon Hara, and Lashon Hara means an evil tongue, but the idea of using your power of speech for negative things. They once asked a question about to one of the rabbis. What should I do? I've been speaking all this negative stuff my whole life. How do I rectify it? How can I rectify all these things I've said to people? So he said, it's very easy, no problem. Just get a pillow, go to the top of a hill, open up the pillow and just chuck out all the feathers on a windy day, and then just go and pick up every feather. That you've just said. That's how you rectify basically. You say one word, it sets something in motion that just can ultimately, long way down the line, right? But it's not just about negative speech, it's also about things that like information even about yourself. So if you look at source F, what's really interesting is we take the lineage. Linda asked about lineage, so I'll tell you. So Esther's family, Esther comes back in the family tree, back to when Jacob had 2 wives, Leah and Rachel. Mm-hmm. People in the room familiar, he had 2 wives. One was called Leah, one was called Rachel. And so the sons and daughters of Rachel and the sons and daughters of Leah have different what's called energies that somehow surround those people. From the side of Rachel you have Joseph and you also have Benjamin, and Esther's family comes from that side, the side of Rachel. Rachel, we know, held in information. Anyone maybe know where Rachel, going back in the Bible, where does Rachel hold in information when she's got some info and she holds and remains silent?
When her sister married her fiance,
When
she didn't want to embarrass anyone. She didn't let it happen.
Exactly. So she knew that her sister would be so upset and upset about what happened, that her father was a swindler, was going to switch people around. So she didn't want her sister to be embarrassed. So she kept quiet, and she didn't say anything. Right. That's an element of holding things in to prevent someone from being embarrassed. Her descendant was someone called King Saul. King Saul was the first king of Israel. We know in source F that King Saul also, who is the great-great-great-great-grandfather of Esther, he also was someone who held on information. If you look at source F, it's okay. Would you know, can we go to read? Yeah, perfect. This is source F. Sarah, do you want to read for us? And if you know what you can do, go to the second paragraph in source F. So you had a question.
Ahasuerus is King Herodes?
No. Herod is someone, a whole different thing. Ahasuerus is King Ahasuerus is a Persian
it's
king.
just a king.
King here, yeah, it's a different thing. Sorry, you had your hand up. I didn't. Apologies. Go for it, Sarah. Yeah.
And what was the modesty shown by Saul? As it is written, but of the matter of the kingdom of which Samuel spoke, he did not tell him.
Pause there. Just to give you some context, there's no king of Israel. People cry out for king. We need a king, we need a king, we need a king, we need a king. So the prophet called Samuel or Shmuel goes and he's instructed to find this young man called Saul. King Saul was very tall. Very tall. Saul tall. And he made him the king, but he didn't yet announce who Saul was. So there was a king, but no one knew who it was. And Saul kept that matter quiet. He didn't go, right, guys, guess what happened? I just got made king of Israel. So read on. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't tell his father, his uncle, anyone. He just kept it quiet until the right moment was going to be. It was very clear. It wasn't yet the moment to reveal that he was the king of Israel. He comes home. His father's like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "Yeah, I met this man. My donkeys went missing." He didn't give him the information that he just now became king of Israel. He just kept that bit quiet, you know. It's like, it's such a shame because his mother would really quell, you know. Like, imagine you came home one day, Omri, and told your mum, you know, she's like, "Omri, how's your day today?" She doesn't speak like that, by the way. I know that. I've met her. But she's normal English accent. She'd be like, "Omri, how's your day today?" She's not the queen either. But the fact is, and Omri would be like, "Yeah, mum, it's really great. Yeah, I just get to learn Northern Line. I think it was great." And actually just became king of Israel today. By the way, which was nice, which is really nice. Fantastic. So he didn't even say that he was the king of Israel. Carry on. And thereby, sorry.
Saul expressed his modesty by not revealing Samuel's promise that he would be king, and thereby merited that Esther would descend from him. Similarly, Rabbi Elazar said, when the Holy One, blessed be he, assigns greatness to a person, he assigns it to his sons and to his sons' sons for all generations, as it is stated.
Beautiful. Okay, it's containing that. We didn't bring that quote from it's further on in the Gemara. The idea is that Samuel told him, and he said, you know, it's not now time to reveal it. And Saul kept the information. He didn't go blurting out. He didn't go on Twitter. He didn't go on Facebook. He didn't go straight to Instagram. Guys, check it out. And this is part of the issue. We're dealing with a world where anything happens, we've got to tweet it. I don't know how many. Are any of you guys on Twitter? When I moved to England, there's one guy who was like, just, you gotta go on Twitter, you gotta go on Twitter, you gotta go on Twitter, you gotta go on Twitter. And pardon me for saying this, but never once have I understood why on earth anybody would want to do that. Why you would go on Twitter.
If you want to get angry.
It's just I've never understood that one. The other ones I can kind of get, but it's just, anytime someone sneezes, guess I just sneezed, amazing sneeze, just so much mucus came out my mouth. Check that hashtag mucus. It is nuts. People whatever they're doing, they've got to let the world know. Late for my train today. Should I get another one? Question mark. Hashtag late for train. Just live your life. You don't need the whole world to You don't need the whole world to see everything you're doing. It's mad. I have my dinner. The whole world has to see my dinner. It is absolutely insane. And I've gone on my little kind of quite a big detox from any of that stuff. And I don't miss it. And I've never really involved myself too much in posting private stuff or whatever was in my family on Facebook. I just never thought it was really relevant. But you see, it's the whole world has to share, and everyone, and then everyone's watching what other people are doing, and I think, I wish I was doing what they were doing, and my life's really rubbish because I'm not, eating a massive, huge burger in New York right now. Yalla, I'm What's wrong with a boiled egg? Now, how we relate this back to Purim? This is amazing. Watch this. This relates back to Purim. I want to get even more. This relates back to Purim even more. Now, one second. What was the big downfall of Haman? The massive downfall of Haman. For those who don't know the story, it's a spoiler alert, but you won't mind me doing this. Right? Ahasuerus in the party, and Haman's there, and Esther's there, and Esther says, I've only got one thing, my guys, one thing I'm going to ask you, one thing. And he goes, what is it, Esther? Half the kingdom I'll give you, whatever you want, tell me what you want. And just, there's this one person who's trying to kill me, he's trying to kill my family, he's trying to get one. And Ahasuerus doesn't know she's Jewish. She's like, what, who, what? He's like, that man there, Haman, he's trying to kill me, I'm Jewish. And in that moment of anger, Ahasuerus is so absolutely bursting with anger. In that moment, right, he runs out into the garden. As he comes in, Haman is begging for his life. He jumps on Esther, literally, and begs for his life. As the king walks in, what's the scene? He says Haman jumped on Esther on the bed. He's like, right, that's it. And Haman is taken straight up to the gallows and he's hung. Finita la commedia, that's the end. The downfall is that, boom, down from there. Haman's dead, his 10 sons are dead, all the instigators, all these people that are trying to kill us, are gone, and the story switches. What was that moment? The fact that Ahasuerus had that shock factor. At that moment, he's now found out that this woman is Jewish. Now, let me ask you a question. I know you got hands up, but let me ask you a question. What was one of the reasons he had the shock factor? Because he didn't know. He never knew. He never worked it out. He never put A and B together. Which, by the way, is weird because Mordechai was Jewish, and he made it very clear he was Jewish. But anyway, the point is like this. The Jews living in Shushan knew she was Jewish. They recognized her. They knew her. She was one of the local girls. Imagine the Jewish Chronicle back in those days. Our girl Esther makes it. In the palace. Shabbat you came with Esther. This is kind of like king, and they make a big deal of it, right? But they understood themselves. They understood themselves that they had to keep quiet. It was like radio silence. Everyone understood. We've got to keep quiet. This is like matter of importance. We're not going to make a big deal. Because you can imagine, even there's one person in the street, be like, oh my gosh, yeah, the Queen, the one that she's Jewish. No, yeah, oh gosh, wow. What if you get me in for actually the truth? The truth that wouldn't happen because obviously Ahasuerus at that point was going to kill the Jews. But no one spoke about it, no one said a word. So you see that the silence of the Jewish people themselves, the fact that they didn't talk about it, the fact that they didn't, even though they had juicy goss, sitting around, bit of juicy goss, have you heard the Queen? Rumour has it, she's Jewish. No, yeah, someone's overhearing, the guy in the bar, wow, he gets back to this one, that one. The Chinese whispers gets back to the king, by the way, your wife's Jewish. Really? I didn't know that. And then, who knows what can happen. Now, the reason I bring this up, it's a really big thing. Look at source G. Source G takes us back to the Torah. In the Torah, and I promise we're getting to meditation really soon for those who are waiting for that, but we're going to get to religious meditation. Uncle Adam's got his hand up. And Adam Aluf has his hand up. Benjamin, das ist eine Sache, ich will alles zu Adam Aluf. Die Frage, die Question, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I don't know what you said, but you said something about, the burger and people were wanting something they can't have.
A lot of the time, yeah.
And I think, wasn't it Haman, the thing that he couldn't have was Mordecai to like him.
No, yeah.
So
or to bow down to him, yeah.
Or bow down to him. And the same with if you link that to the Purim story, it's it's not always good to. You should be happy with what you've got rather than just.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, that's an absolutely gorgeous idea. But maybe we'll bring that in next week. Yeah, Adam Aloof. Obviously, it's Adam Aloof. I mean, let's face it.
Maybe Adam should.
Adam, would you like to come? Maybe me. I'm checking that. Would be fun. Emily, you want to say something? Yeah.
Wasn't there another point here that Haman was also asked about something, and he basically said "Oh, what should we do for someone that the king wants to honour?"
Yeah.
And he just said, that he should be on the king's horse,
Yeah.
he should wear the king's clothes, and he should go in a big procession. And that was really the opposite of secretive. It was the biggest spectacle of yourself.
Amazing,
and
yeah.
Really
the idea, the idea in his mind of how the king shows honour. Get me on the horse. Get me in front of everyone. Front page news. Live Facebook feed. On the horse, and exactly, it's a beautiful idea. I mean, I didn't go so much into that in this class. The idea of The idea of kavod, the idea of honor. How tznius is such an interesting word. You say the word tznius, everyone's like, tznius, like, what's tznius? Just like elbows or joke like that. The idea of modesty, the idea of modesty is not about clothing. It's clothing, how we dress is part of it. Tznius, the idea of modesty is how we behave in a whole general way, about kind of understanding that the gifts we've been given are not for everyone. The way we act, the way we speak, the way we do things. Right? The pasuk in Torah, in the Bible says that someone who acts in a modest way, right? That's the way to go in a godly way. It's not dresses like people get so worked up about the whole dress thing, but tznius, like, this is such a beautiful idea when you bring it out, right? So you'd ask someone like an Esther or Mordechai, like, what would you do for the king, for the king's honor? So they would say, we'd have like a way to symbolize, the king's honor. We'd have like a day we can give things to other people, have a party, we can all share, we can all do it together, we can all, don't put me on a pedestal, I don't want the limelight, it's not just about me, let's do it sharing wise, right? Whereas Haman, what would you do for the king, to get the king's honor? Get me on the horse, get me in front of everyone, I want to be in everyone's faces, I want everyone to see me, I want everyone to notice me, I want everyone to, right? It's a very interesting point you brought up, but not necessarily for now. So we see, going back again, just a beautiful idea, Jewish people in Egypt. Let's go to Pesach for a minute here. Laura, voulez-vous faire pour moi le lirage de J?
He wrote, "Who made you sheep and ruler over us? Do you mean to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Moses was passionate and so then the matter is known.
Okay, so you've got the story. Moses, he goes out, Prince of Egypt, and he sees two Jews fighting. The day before, he'd seen an Egyptian whacking a Jew and killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. And he thought no one saw what happened. And next day he sees two Jews fighting with each other. And he says, guys, stop, what are you doing? Why are you fighting each other? Stop. To which one of them turns back and says, who made you chief and ruler over us? Are you going to kill me like you killed the one that you saw yesterday? And Moses thinks, there, the matter is known. Now I know. What do you mean, now I know? What do you know? What do you know now that you didn't know before? So Rashi, the famous commentator on the Torah, tells us, so be careful, read to us what Rashi says, something so beautiful. Omri, I know you're thinking the same thing. So Tali's reading next, so I'll go, yeah.
Surely the thing is known. Explain it in its literal sense. The fact that I have killed the Egyptian is known. A midrashic explanation is, now there is known to me that matter about which I have been puzzled.
Pause there. Moshe has been puzzling all these years. He's been wondering. What's been wondering?
How has Israel sinned more than all the 70 nations that they should be oppressed by this crushing servitude?
Right, he's saying, why are we slaves? Why are the Jews slaves in Egypt? I don't get it. What have we done to deserve this? Why? Answer, he says,
but now I see that they deserve this.
Very crushing, very, very stark sort of statement. I see they deserve it. Why do they deserve it? Why is the matter known? Because somebody saw Moses do it. That night they got back, and what did they say? Guys, psst, big news. Right, let's get a Twitter feed going. Moses, Prince of Egypt, killed an Egyptian yesterday. No way. Yeah, go. Next house comes in. This one, everyone's talking about it. Everyone knows. No one kept quiet, or even the person that saw didn't keep quiet about it. Everyone's talking. It's like back in the day, remember, there was a TV show, maybe you've heard of it, called EastEnders. I presume that was a joke. I've heard it at least once. I remember the very first EastEnders, 1985. I was watching TV, and they had a thing saying, starting next week, EastEnders. That came out of the square, so that makes me really odd. So, and how at that point it said EastEnders, and it was like in the middle of something going on. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was Grant Mitchell or something. Is he back in now? Is Grant Mitchell back in EastEnders? I'm talking about Torah class. Anyway, the point is, it's like so irrelevant. Grant Mitchell, like, what's the relevance in Grant Mitchell and Soul Fitness? It's like the thing that you juxtapose. Grant Mitchell, it's like two different worlds. Anyway, sorry for those. Je suis désolé parce que c'est les Anglais soap opera, stupido. But I grew up watching that stuff. I grew up watching EastEnders. I loved it. Now, and Elstree Studios, and that's the point. I used to see him in Elstree High Street, Shenley Road, all the time. Did you used to as well?
I've seen the BBC lot before.
I was in the bank once, and this thing was behind me. I was like, oh my gosh! And it's Grant Mitchell. I was like so scared. He was an actor. It wasn't real. It was Ross Campbell. Anyway, sorry Benjamin, ich weiß nicht, weil ich habe gesagt. So the point is that EastEnders, one point it was like, zoom out to EastEnders, everybody's talking about it, right? Because everyone was talking about it because there's some big thing going on. The idea is like Moses, everybody's talking about it. Like, everyone's talking about it non-stop. So it says the Midrash that, what does Moses say? I understand now why we're in such, because everyone's talking about it. No one can keep their mouth quiet. No one can go airtight. No one just like zip. Just hold it in. Don't say it. Don't speak it, even if you know it. Careless talk costs lives. It actually is true, right? You remember you learned about World War II. Careless talk costs lives. It's true. It really does. If you're careless with your tongue, if you're careless with what you say, if you're careless with what you spurt out, it has implications, right? People's lives can be ruined by just a silly comment, a throwaway comment about something you know or didn't know that you make public. It can be really, really damaging. In fact, we see, let's go through some of these other sources just to really kind of reiterate this point in source I. I'd like to ask if it's okay with you to, if I can ask Talia just if she'll read source I.
Shimon ben Gamliel would say, all my life I've been raised among the wise, and I've found nothing better for the body than silence.
Okay, so again, doesn't mean everyone should walk out there like Franciscan monks, like just silent now, like no one talks anymore. Of course you talk. Hashem gave us the power and the koach to speak. It's a very important thing to use our strength and our power of using our voices and using our words for good and for love and for bringing them together. But at the same time, he's saying that like silence sometimes is like just the best option. Have you ever been like on a train or like in a situation where you just like look at the situation like, man, like you need to be quiet, like just like like I had that recently. I was in a place that was nabbering on. It was like enough. Like it's just like this power of just being able to like stop and be silent. And one of the reasons we find it so hard, and this we're going to talk about in meditation, starting in 1 minute now, is that it isn't so easy always to control our mouth, right? It's kind of easy-ish to control your actions. For most of us, Baruch Hashem, controlling actions isn't the hardest thing. You don't really like someone. Most of the time, most of us are able to say, well, I'm not going to go and whack them or hit them or kick them. If you're lucky. There are some people out there that don't have that power. Most of them support Millwall Football Club. But there are most people out there, like, to hit or to punch or to get violent or kick, right? You can control our actions pretty much in a good way, right? But the next step up is our speech, right? And though we can control our speech, obviously we can, it's much harder. By the way, the next step above that is our thoughts, and controlling our thoughts is even harder than that. Mm-hmm. And that's part of which we can do. We're going to do the exercise now. So, so the next one was J. Sorry, Daniel.
I have a question. So for me, the word secret has kind of a negative connotation to it. Almost like saying someone's living a secret life, like they're living a double life.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fine line between saying to keep information to yourself and it's a secret to what's the greater good with sharing this piece of information. So for example, if you witness a murder, you would want to share.
I said that, I did say that. I made this thing. I said obviously anything that's like criminal or something needs to be said. Or I think the reason I said keeping a secret, I think because they say the word seter, Esther. So I tried to link it to the word seter is like a secret. So her life was like in many for a long time with Ahasuerus was a secret life. But she was Jewish, living in the house of Ahasuerus. There's a book someone wrote once about this. Like she was who was it? She was living in the house of a Nazi, and she was the maid, and she was Jewish. I mean, the whole Tanjid War had no clue, and she actually was a Jewish woman, and they didn't understand that. But yeah, of course, anything is dangerous. So you're right. So yeah, maybe I wouldn't use the word secret.
Not even dangerous, but But I think it's like just not having to live a life in secret, kind of like a double life, but just thinking, do I need to share this piece of information, or is it kind of redundant?
Yeah, well, it's redundant. But was it like? Is it potentially dangerous? Does it need to? Does everything need to be said? Not everything needs to be said, and not everything needs to be written. Written needs to be written. And everything needs to be read needs to be read. Like we're like in a throwaway generation. We're just like boom, just like anything that comes to our head, we'll throw out. Just like the words come out of our mouth, and that's part of what we're saying. That's what Esther's teaching us. This amazing core, this amazing power. She's here with us in the room right now. She's teaching us, like, this amazing power. Like, you can hold in information if it's not meant to be said. If it's not meant to be there, you have the power to do that if you choose to. Now look at source J. Emily, can read to us source J.
Even a fool is counted wise when he holds his peace.
Right. So even the most foolish person doesn't know anything. If you know when to be quiet. There's a time for everything, and there's a time to be quiet. If you know when to be quiet, you're considered the wisest person ever. Emily?
I think, silence can also highlight what you're saying. So
a lot of people say and ah and like and things like that, and it really, you see like in TED Talks and in business, when people are very straightforward with what they're saying and then they stop afterwards and there's a pause, it has more of an impact and you listen to them.
Very
and I
true.
know as a salesperson, a sales technique is after you've spoken, be silent, and the other person is like uncomfortable and then they have to speak. So there's
Silence is a power in itself.
yeah, it's about controlling your words as well, because like I'm doing it right now, you can waffle.
It's so true, and I think this is part of what we're saying, and like part of what soul fitness is all about in my world is like making and finding quiet time, like finding time in our lives where there is some element of silence, whether it's that like complete silence or just this time last year we were in Morocco, and we spent some time in a place called Casbah Angor, which was this beautiful hotel in the Atlas Mountains, absolutely gorgeous, and it was very, very special. Luffy, right?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we went from this like serene, just quiet space. We went back to Marrakesh that night, and it was, I couldn't, the noise, we back in the city was so jarring, I actually couldn't sleep that night. I'm generally, Baruch Hashem, able to sleep, but I couldn't actually sleep because I come from like 2.5 days, 3 days of real quiet to this noisy downtown experience. I just partially didn't sleep. So let's bring it all together and let's get to meditation, because it's a bit late and I don't want anyone to fall asleep in meditation. I just want to finish off by saying this thing, one of my favourite lines of all time is source K, which is Miha Esha Chavetz Chaim Ohev Yamim V'Rostov. Who is the person that loves life? Who loves life? Did you love life? Who really loves life? King David asked the question, who is the person that really loves living, loves life? And the answer he gives is someone who knows how to guard your tongue from evil, your lips from speaking deceitfully, shun evil, do good, seek peace and pursue it. It's almost like this simple recipe. You love life, this is how to live your life. Guard your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceitfully. Just watch what you say, hold it in. You don't have to say every word. Not every word has to be said. And Esther, I think, really teaches us that very powerfully. This idea, just like knowing when to speak, knowing when not to speak. And so the Esther aspect, the seter, not everything has to be revealed. Yes, Adam.
So that just reminds me of what you said before you said Yamina. So
Yeah,
you seal
okay.
your lips, you declare your faith, which is similar to what
Is
you
it
said.
so you say so that's not kind
What you say at the start of the meeting,
Which
you
is?
seal your lips.
not seal my lips, open my lips. Let my lips not be sealed. That's the point.
Okay.
And answer. But the idea is that now is the time to talk. There is a time to talk. There's a time to speak. And now, when you're going to pray, now really is the time to talk. So let's just quickly look at this. I'm going to do a meditation based on another visual. So I've given you the visual here. Take a look at this little graph that you can kind of bend the piece of paper if you want and have it in front of you. And just based on what we talked about, and I'm going to just, during the meditation, maybe we'll open our eyes and take a look at it as well. This is like the kind of the circles, concentric circles, right? We're going to talk about how actions are things that are essentially easier to control, okay? And things that are, very much within our realm. But speech is something already a little bit harder. And we get to thoughts. Thoughts are flying constantly around. And I'm not going to go into source M now, something to you read when you go home. But teach us just how much thought is flying. We're going to have a little exercise now and a meditation just to calm our thoughts, to calm ourselves, to bring back this message of Esther, and we'll do it for 10 minutes and we'll be out of here. Is that cool with everyone? Now, some people told me the last week that they really liked the whole music thing. Is that the case? People want a bit of music with it as well? Yeah?